Peace out, everybody.
It's a mediocre place of Europa League.
Hamza, I need to show you something before we go forward. This is your current run of form. 8 defeats, 1 win, 2 draws. Yes, you did beat Nottingham Forest.
No.
You got hurt today by Man United, Hamza. What went wrong today?
This is not. I told you before. I said it. I've stuck for the same thing from beginning. I said it from beginning. I tell City fans this: nothing's gonna save you. You need to get into January. There's nothing can save you. There's nothing, because when the problem is you have 1 win in 11 games with the greatest manager the world has ever seen. Ferguson took, I think he lost 13 in 1989 to 88. He lost 13, but he's a great manager. It can happen to anyone. Don't be arrogant enough to believe it cannot happen to you. It happened to the.
I need to stop you. I need to mute you and stop you. You're not going to do that. That was during a process where the club was being built up after nearly 20 plus years without winning a title. Fergie didn't lose 13 games when they started winning league titles. Get the context correct, please, my friend.
No, I just said that people hide the fact that in 88, 89, they can research that. But listen, it can happen to anyone, but this is not Pep's level. This is not Manchester City's level. Fact. That's what everyone's reacting. They know this is not the standard of Man City. But the problem is, I think the biggest issue is errors, individual errors. The biggest cost that's cost us is individual errors. Constantly. We're comfortable. 1-0 up. Terry.
Josh goes out a lot of them too.
This United team. I don't respect this Man United team. I have no respect on zero Man United. I have no respect. Zero respect on United team. They're not that special. Today, we lost because not R9, not Benzema, not CR7, Amad Diallo. Oh my day. Amad Diallo, is the guy that gave us a beating at the Etihad. What a shame. It's a fact. Put a hand up, 100%. What a shame. It shouldn't happen to us. We should lose to the likes of Benzema, R9, Luis Figo, CR7. I would understand. I'll say, oh my God, wow. Amad Diallo. They didn't have a Rashford. They didn't have Garnacho. And United, they didn't offer any danger. Amad was great. I'm not cussing Amad. He's a good player. Upcoming youngster. And I'm not going to dash. Because
do you know what's really funny, Hamza? I want to stop you because I want to help you a little bit. What you don't realize you're doing, Hamza, you think you're dunking on Man United here, but you're just making Pep's...
Yeah, I know. You're right.
You are making Pep's form and City's defeat look even worse. No Man United fans think this is a great team. We haven't even said that it was a great performance from us as a side today. But what you never do, Hamza, is you are not talking about anything individual. So I want to ask you individual questions. And if you go off topic, I'm just going to mute you. So I want to ask you, Ruben Diaz for the second goal today. Why is he allowing the ball to go over his head? Why is he allowing the ball to bounce? He's a world-class centre-back. No, I'm asking you about that goal.
So why are we jumping the second goal?
Because I want to ask you. I'm going to move around. I've got a few questions. What did you make on Ruben Diaz's defending for the winning goal, my friend?
Joke. Absolutely, you don't do that. You don't do that. It's a fact. You've just conceded a goal. How long was it? Was it a minute later or 2 minutes later? Yeah. You shouldn't allow that. Absolutely. That's why I said individual mistakes is costing us. But you have to ask yourself, are these players that bad? Are they bad, Terry? Have these players who won 4 in a row have turned out to be really bad?
Yes, they are.
No.
Yes, a lot of them are.
No.
Walker is not good enough.
Yeah,
Gundogan is not good enough. De Bruyne is not good enough. Bernardo is not good enough. When you have those 4 touching the ball as much as they are,
they were good enough to beat this team, though. Kels. They were good enough to beat this.
They weren't good enough to beat. They weren't good enough to beat this
team. We got a lucky goal.
Thank you, Kel, for being honest. You weren't good enough to beat this team. You created no clear-cut chances in open play.
United weren't good enough either. This was a terrible game to watch.
Guys. One at a time. Sorry, I just want to respond to that as well. Thank you, Kel. You created no clear-cut chances from open play. This is a poor. This is a poor City team, but United are below you in the league. You created no chances from open play. We had almost as much of the ball as you. Even the games you've lost in this run, Most of them still, you've had 60, 70% of the ball. Most of them, you've missed chance after chance after chance. That wasn't the same today. So when you say, when you turn around and say we're good enough to beat this Man United team, right now, City are you're at relegation level. That is in terms of how good you've been. You're awful. Right. Awful.
Let me respond. Let me respond to that.
Yeah, Terry doesn't allow us to engage, and I can explain. I can understand what.
No. V is going to respond. Go on, V.
Yeah. So when I make the point to say we are good enough to win this game, look at what it took for you guys to have gotten the tie and to have gotten the win. We were good enough to win this game. It was the late 2 minutes of the 90 minutes where they came back to it. Now, if we weren't playing at our level, I completely agree with you. We weren't playing at the customary City level, but we were still playing good enough, or those players that are being called out for not being good enough, they were good enough to get a win today. We didn't get the win because of those errors and because of what you were able to do. But when you talk about possession, I believe we still had more possession. When you talk about we didn't have any clear-cut chances, I believe we equaled the same amount of shots on target or the same amount of shots. So that's my point. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
So V, I understand where you're coming from, but shots on target don't necessarily mean big chances, because you could have a P roller from 40 yards that's picked up on the goalkeeper and the stats say it's on target. So when you say you should have just beaten us, listen, Bruno Fernandes went clean through on goal and missed the target when he should have scored. Ahmad, not Ahmad.
Just have the same energy.
Please let me finish, just so we don't get off what you've said. Bruno went clean through on goal and he should have scored. And Mainu had a header from 6 yards out when he was free, and he blazes it over, right? You guys had one chance in the game, and that's when it fell to Guardiola. Header deflected, got to him. He took the header brilliantly. I said it at the beginning. Outside of that, you didn't have any clear-cut opportunities. Haaland had a swing at a shot that was a point-blank block from Lisandro Martinez. So when you say that you were good enough to beat us, if we would have finished our chances, the big chances created that were, I think it's easier for Mainu to hit the target from where he is, and I think Bruno should be hitting the target, then you don't beat us anyway. We stopped you from doing anything.
Hold on, Professor, 1 second.
The midfield.
Let's just have the same energy when we talk about big chances or clear chances in future games where City happens to slip up and not get a win, or get the win closely due to not taking as many chances they should have. Foden also, I think he had a chest control and it went a little wide of the post. Missing.
That's a volley from outside the box, V. Shots from outside the box have a 3% chance of going in. That's why they're not considered big chances created, because they're a shot from distance. But this is where, you know me, you've been on there long enough. You know I have that energy. Because who have been the group of people that I've called out above and beyond what most rivals and even City fans do when it comes to this bad run? I consistently call out your attackers for not scoring and or creating enough chances and goals. So I absolutely keep that same energy, but I've been ridiculed and slammed for it by City fans when I've said Doku's got to do more, Grealish has got to do more, Savio's got to do more, because a lot of them in the last 11 games where you've won one match have had chances to score, barring United today. In each of the other games, they have all had ample and very good chances to score and not delivered. But when I call them out, I'm told to leave them alone. Now what we're saying is we can't, let's keep the same energy when we do have big chances. We do. I do, certainly. And that's who you're talking to.
Absolutely perfect. But so when I talk about when I see my club getting dangerous positions and we're not taking the shots, when I see them just slightly outside the 18 or inside the 18 and trying to do a little intricate one touch rather than putting a shot on Onana to have to try to make a save, that's where I'm like, you know what? I think we were still good enough to win this game. But when you want to look on big chances because a shot needs to be taken or XG, a shot needs to be taken. So I get all that when you want to break down the stats.
I understand where you're coming. Sorry, V, go on, finish. I get where you're coming from, V, but if you're getting the ball to the edge of the box, if you're getting the ball to the edge of the box, and then your players are messing that up and you're not creating the chance or having the shot, I don't see how you can argue you were good enough.
Yeah, because I don't understand how we were good enough.
Man United did that against Arsenal. We got the ball to the edge of their box, not 100 times, I'm being over the top, but multiple times, and did nothing with it. And our performance was ridiculed. That is what you did today. You got to the edge of our box and you very rarely broke the back line. You didn't get to the byline and whip balls into the box. It was slow and it was lethargic. That's what we're calling out with City. You had opportunities to create chances, but you didn't do it. And I think that's where the criticism should be.
It comes down to one thing. It's simple.
It's too slow.
It's simple. It's lack of understanding that what Fergie was there. He said you need to rebuild a team every 2-3 years. Poor into the market. We've been very, very poor. Fact. Number one, I've said it, and I said to Martin, and I said to everyone who's famous City supporters, and I told them, midfield is the engine. You don't joke around with midfield. Don't mess around with midfield. Any great teams that has ever won titles, it's the midfield. Rodri was crying for help. We went to the recruitment and we signed Gundogan, who's old, opportunistic, but he's good. But don't blame him because he's 35. You're playing him every 3 days.
See, he was meant to just come in
occasionally. They're 34, they've done their time. But I come back to the recruitment. Who are these guys that made that decision? The decision of letting Alvarez go. One second. Tell me. Not being able to tell me, you only should get better. You lose Alvarez, 95 million. You say, I
think I'm not saying Hamza. Hamza. I'm not saying you don't blame them, but when you say you should only get better, this is the problem that some City fans are going to go through because this is the first time you've ever had a great team, and that's not a dig. The only reason that I'm aware of it is because Man United have had two before I was born. One of them unfortunately passed away in an aeroplane crash. We had another one that went on to win the European Cup, the first ever, and then we had two under Fergie. It's that when you have a great team, sometimes you have the same people running your club. Getting players in that are as good as the greats that are leaving is so hard because timing's important. And when you say no, do you know why you're wrong? Do you know why you're wrong? Because I truly believe this. This isn't a dig at City, no one else. You think about how good KDB was at his peak. How many other players, in your honest opinion, you guys say he's the greatest midfielder of all time in Premier League history? You do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're saying after 30 years of football, he's the greatest midfielder ever, how can you then say when replacing him, we should only get better when he's literally the best in the last 30 years? The likelihood on probability of the replacement being as good or better than the guy that you think the number one of all time is so low, there's always going to be a regression of sorts. You have to be mentally prepared for this because you've just had greatness. And what comes after greatness, what comes after greatness, most of the time in English football history is a dip to some sort. So I think having the expectations of we always have to stay up there, it's ridiculous because the players...
I lost Julian Alvarez. You want me not to buy anyone?
No, I didn't.
You should have bought someone.
That is where you're being Where do I say you shouldn't buy anybody? Don't take my point and flip it in another direction. Absolutely, that was a mistake to let him go. But the reason why that looks a mistake is because the hundreds of millions of pounds that you have spent on your Nunez's, your Phillips, your Doku's, your Savios, your Grealish's, they haven't got to the level required. That's a bigger problem than Alvarez. That's the bigger problem than Alvarez going is that you've spent 400 million on attacking midfielders and attackers and they failed.
Savinho was 25 million.
I'm talking. Hang on a minute. So if you add up all the prices of the players I mentioned,
let's go Phillips.
Hang on. If you are adding up the prices of all the players I've mentioned, we're talking between 200 to 300 million pounds. Yes.
Okay, let's go Phillips.
50 million.
Not good enough.
Yeah, not good enough. He's bad. Nunes.
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
He's bad. Savinho.
That's 125 million spent already.
He's 20 years old. Give him a chance.
Yeah, but so far hasn't been good enough. Guys, one voice at a time. So we're up to 125 million already. Who's the next player?
So you added them 65 million each?
No, there's three players. 50, 25 is 125.
Okay, no, let's say 42, not 50.
Okay, Gundogan, I don't know. He was free, right?
Free.
So nothing. So, okay, keep going.
Okay, 125. So you already wasted there. Then who else did we buy?
Grealish, 100 million.
No, Grealish has already got us a treble.
Grealish, 100 million. Grealish, 100 million. Doku, how much did it cost you? You tell me.
50.
Doku was, I think.
So now we're at 175. We're at 275 million already. Let's end the conversation. I didn't lie.
That's what we're going to come back to that. So when you're penny pinching and you're going to...
Hamza, I'm shutting the conversation down because it's very, very strange.
I'm trying to explain to you.
But what are you explaining?
Freedom of speech. in your chat like this.
You have just turned around
you're stopping me and saying to me, you have to say,
Hamza, no, I said a minute ago you spent between 200 to 400 million pounds on flops, and you turned around and said that's not what they cost. We've added up what they cost. We're ending the conversation. It doesn't need explaining. I win the conversation.